Hey, it's Soul, and I have returned with more Horrific Vision commentary. This is a continuation of my quest to complete 5 chest runs on every class using only gear obtained from world content and visions. This week we're in Stormwind, and we're back on our good old Warlock, this time in a lot more smooth run than I originally anticipated. He's running Affliction with an item level of 443, with 1 corruption trait, a level 3 infinite stars that has an item level of 445. He's using the Inevitable Demise trait, which makes life drain do some pretty good damage every few minutes. His cloak rank is 11, and his neck level is 78. He's using Breath of the Dying rank 3 as his main essence, with Purification Protocol rank 3, Blood of the Enemy rank 3, and Crucible rank 1 as minors. And keep in mind, the rank 3 that I obtained were obtained using Echoes of Nyalotha, which were also earned only doing assaults and visions. For talents, he's running Drained Soul, Absolute Corruption, Demon Skin, Phantom Singularity, Mortal Coil, Shadow Embrace, and Creeping Death. I'll tell you how this all kind of ties together throughout this run. For research, he's spec'd for solo play, and is pretty darn close, but not close enough to getting Gift of the Titans. He's also armed with Ghastly Goulash and has kebabs at the ready. Let's get started. So I can already tell you now that this run was way better than my Orgrimmar run, which is a little curious because normally it's like, oh, the Stormwind one is so much harder than Orgrimmar, but I guess I just wasn't very familiar with how warlocks work, and to be honest, I'm still not, but I think I just got a much better handle of how to like I wanted my routine to be. So as I'm going through, I don't have any invisibility pots, but I'm just using mostly instant spells more than anything else throughout this run, and I'm focusing everything on Breath of the Dying or Reaping Flames, whatever you want to call it. And you can see on the upper left hand of my hotbars, you can see it going. So keep an eye on that throughout the run, and you'll get an idea of what I'm trying to do here. The strategy here is pretty much to take low health mobs and just dot them up, take higher level mobs and use a bit more dots, as in using unstable affliction, and then using Reaping Flames to kill off all the mobs. And then of course my pet will like take a little bit of stress away from people. So I'm running back really quick to take a look at the vial. I took a look, I forgot what it was, but you're going to see me get a couple of vials throughout this run. So you can see here the smaller slimes, for the most part, I can one-shot using the special trait that comes from Reaping Flames. Basically what happens is that if I am able to use Reaping Flames as a killing blow, my next Reaping Flames is going to do double the damage. So in that sense, if you look around here, you can see that the mobs have maybe 100 to 300k life. When they're around the 100k life range, that means they're in execute range, and I just hit my hotkey, which happens to be F1 for Reaping Flames, and they just drop. So you'll see that all throughout this run, and it really pays off. This run was a heck of a lot smoother than before. So things like Goulash will help keep me up. And and then of course there's the pet and everything. I'm just really surprised at how smooth this run ultimately went. So let's go ahead and start pulling through. I accidentally I accidentally dot up those little pimple things over there, it's not really a big deal. So you can see here, these guys I for the most part can kind of one shot. And then I eat a kebab right now. So I'm trying to be really careful. I'm starting off this run very careful, because at least in my head at the time, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to screw up somewhere. Something is going to go terribly wrong, and I got to be prepared. And I always recommend having that sort of mindset when doing this sort of stuff. So you can see here, I'm kind of ignoring like those smaller mobs. I'm not dotting up absolutely everything, just the things that are like, relatively important. And this is one of the few times I believe I use Phantom Singularity here. I actually made poor use of that here. But I do a fairly big pull. I'm grabbing a bunch of guys, and I'm just kind of keeping up the one-shot kills with Reaping Flames. I'm just looking for a fairly low health target. I take a look, and I think, okay, cool, he's at low health, let's blow him up. For bigger mobs, like that bigger Naraki over there, I used Unstable Affliction for it, just to help keep this thing down. And in this case, I dump a whole bunch of them, and then I use my Dark Glare to get some extra dot damage on them. So I let that thing go to work, and this is where I kind of remember, oh, that's right, I have my super powerful drain life nuke that I can use. So I use it right there and finish him off really, really quickly. Like, down he goes. Nice and smooth. So that's where I start to kind of get that mindset here. I'm like, okay, let me keep up my agony so that way I can build stacks of this drain life nuke. And then I look for a high health mob or a dangerous mob, notably even an elite if I can manage to do it, and they get finished off really quickly. You'll see another example of this as I'm going through. So there's quite a bit of management going on with a warlock, at least in terms of, okay, this is what I'm trying to do with Reaping Flames, this is what I'm trying to do with Agony and Drain Life, so I can get some really powerful nukes out there, because there are certain instances where a warlock will just kind of suffer a little bit. They don't have the kinds of interrupts and stuns that some other classes do, so I got to make up for it in different ways, either just kind of taking it to the face or finding some sort of inventive way to really like just nuke things down. So right now I have nothing available. I have no powerful Reaping Flame. I have no powerful Drain Life. So this is where I want to try to start building some stacks. So I start dotting all these things up. And I want to try to keep in mind that my next Reaping Flames needs to be a kill shot. That way I can have it saved for later, and that way I can just kind of whittle down these other mobs very quickly. So down goes one mob. And then it very quickly comes off cooldown. Once it's available, I'll use it on another low health target. Down it goes. It looks like that one I happened to get on the big mob, unfortunately. So you can see that it has a much longer cooldown now. But I also do have a the maximum amount of the Drain Life stacks. So I'm trying to figure out the timing here. So I leave those mobs alive and I leave my Agony on those running so I can keep getting a refresh on that buff. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough time. You can see my Voidwalker comes back. It's like, hey, boss, I'm back. And I'm like, how do I keep this stack up? So I just dot up those mobs over there, too. I might as well just pull these guys over, and I'll just hope for the best and hope that I'm not going to get screwed over. So I take on this elite, this area boss, dot him up, get a couple of unstable afflictions out really quick. And then from there, I use my nuke. Boom. And look at the damage. And he just goes down really, really fast. So down he goes. This Naraki is still up for another second. And it's pretty much off I go. Well, not before I use a kebab. This is a bad place to use a kebab, actually. You probably want to go just outside back into the Tainted area, then use a kebab. That way you can get a little bit more sanity back. There's a little bit less drain that way. But oh well, not the end of the world. Of course, take care of the eyeball right over here. No big deal. If anything, this is me just starting to build up stacks of Drain Life again. Because no joke, this thing it's a really powerful nuke to take advantage of. It's kind of funny how this is so much different from things like raiding, where you want to have a certain kind of build or a certain kind of rotation so you can maximize your dot damage. But here it's quite a bit different. So I'm opting here to go left, dot up these guys, because these informants, they don't have a whole lot of life. They only have about 175k life. So as soon as I get them down a little bit, boom, they drop really quick with Reaping Flame and the other dots. It's on cooldown right now, so I'm just going to be kind of waiting on that. But I do have, looks like I'm about to get all 50 stacks of the Drain Life buff. So here we go. Let's get this lady over here. Let's kind of get out of the way a little bit. And I'm not sure if I use my Drain Life here or not. Oh, there it is. And down she goes. that was it. Gone. So it's a lot of damage. I can't overstate it. You can see here that it has a really strong use in this particular situation with Horrific Visions. So I'm taking on these Shadow Blades first. These guys can cause a good bit of trouble with movement, but I'm also only dealing with split personality. Since I'm only dealing with this one, it's not a huge deal for me to just kind of not move and just go ahead and deal with it. That Informant went down really quick thanks to another well-timed Reaping Flames. This is where I could have used Phantom Singularity again. I think I think in my concentration and trying to handle all the different kinds of dots and everything, I think I just kind of fell off with Phantom Singularity. So this might be something to consider not using in the future, if I keep doing these, at least. So I'm trying my best here to keep up the 50 stacks. I'm going to be saving it for the elite just ahead. And there it is. So I dot him up real quick, get some distance, and drain his life. So I want to use it a little bit early before he casts that one spell. There it is, the appendage spell, where I have to move. And down he goes again. So as you can see, if you guys had seen my Orgrimmar run, this is like a night and day. I feel like I know what I'm doing, which is very strange. So my Reaping Flame, it has about 12 seconds left on its powered up version. Let's see if I end up using it here. Yeah, so I use it over there. Drop that. Actually, I did not use it over there. That was an Azeroth trade. So I guess I just ended up not using it at all. So that turned out to be bad utilization. I probably could have used that to drop the Informant a lot faster, or the Executioner. The Executioner is still pretty deadly, so you want to be very careful. As you can see, my pet died, and I believe I didn't notice this until later. So I believe I ended up respawning my pet during the Shaw fight. Whoops. So here is where I use my first orb at last. So I'm doing pretty good. Things are working out pretty well so far, so I'm dotting him up. I know he's going to disappear, so I just kind of let him do his thing, just stay out of the way. And then I dot him back up again. You know, throwing in whatever I can. And then here's me finally getting my Voidwalker out. Again, good going. So there I did use Phantom Singularity. I mean, it's not like huge. I really think that utilizing it better would have saved me even more time, or I would have been able to get through even faster. But at this point, I'm just trying to dot them up. Now, people were saying on stream that something that I could do that I didn't use during this run is that if I were to use a channeled spell like Drain Life or Drain Soul, even if I do happen to be looking in the direction of an eyeball, because you know how it works, you have to be facing your target before you can cast the channel. The thing is, though, once you do start casting the channel, you're more than free to turn around. So the order of operation here is, you know, look at the boss if you need to, dot him up, and then look away. So that, start your channel and then look away. But as you can see, he didn't go down with too much trouble at all. I have pretty much full sanity and 2 bars left. I have plenty of kebab to go, and I haven't used a third one yet. And off we go to the trade district. So the order that I'm going to go here is pretty much the same as it typically is. Dot up some dudes, dot up that dude, and this time, instead of usually just kind of staying there as I like to, I start pushing ahead a little bit more. I want to start building stacks of agony. I want to start getting my Reaping Flames buff up. So I'm looking for these low health mobs and farming those so that way I can supercharge my Reaping Flames and use it on something that's actually worth using it on. Or it's just great for wearing down mobs too. It feels like it's pretty much a staple of Horrific Visions as a whole if you play DPS. So if if you're having a bit hard of a time with reputation grinds and things like that, I'll tell you this: Reaping Flames it's so worth it. It's definitely worth getting at least that one time, so that way you and your alts can take advantage of it too. Because as you can see, it's really, really powerful. So I'm taking a fair bit. I was taking a fair bit of damage here, but I was under pulling a little bit. I didn't want to deal with so many appendages at once. And here I'm trying to time it in such a way that I'm standing on top of these appendages, so that way they're not disappearing. And once their health gets low, I'll just wipe them out with a Reaping Flame. And a lot of this is simply working out. I'll dot these guys up, and you want to be very careful. Just make sure you stand outside of their stun. And it feels like I'm getting pretty cocky here. I apologize that I'm running around like a maniac and jumping around like a doofus. So there we go, kicking it off with a Drain Life. And there goes almost 25% of his life. but he's still getting some casts off, which can be, you know, a little bit of a pain. But I also use a couple of unstable afflictions to get some extra damage out, and down he goes. So we're looking pretty good. I am at about 3/4 sanity, still have 2 bars left, and I'm taking on this next elite. We'll go ahead and get started, and the idea here is just to throw down as many unstable afflictions as I can, pop the cooldown because of this chain, because when chains go out, I won't be able to do anything. So if I can get everything out just before he begins the chain cast, you get this. He just drops very, very quickly. I think so far this has been I think this turned out to be like my one of my higher DPS tunes going into Horrific Visions. I'm just dropping guys, and it doesn't seem to have much to do with Infinite Stars. If you guys remember, I mean, I am rocking Infinite Stars here, and I'm sure that it's helping here, but at least when I looked at meters later, it did a very insignificant amount of damage, especially in light of the way Horrific Visions are. This is something that's a lot more friendly to things like, say, Echoing Void or Twilight Devastation. That's right, even Echoing Void is arguably more useful here, except in the case of like single target damage. So like if I'm fighting Illyria, I would say that using a single target corruption like Tentacles, Infinite Stars would be pretty darn useful, as opposed to something like Twilight Devastation. So with this place cleared out, we only have one more spot to go. We're actually getting through this thing pretty swimmingly. I have no charges, I'm pretty good on sanity, so I start to build up stacks. So I start here, dot some stuff up, drop that really quick. Then as I'm going in, I'm starting to throw some more dots in, just so I can build up a little bit more. Try to get things running a little bit, but I'm also trying to utilize Reaping Flames to get through these eyeballs very quickly. You can see once it gets at low enough health, boom, it gets cut, and that's it. It's done. So here I, you know, as another example, I take this tentacle, I make sure it's dotted up, get it at low enough health, and boom, Reaping Flames gone. Hey, and there's an Infinite Stars. Hi there. So it's doing work. It's helping out. So I can see that the Boundless Corruption over to the right is just a little ways off. Before that, though, I want to get some more stacks. So I want to get the 50 stacks, have all that available. Now, this is going to be a difficult part, or a difficult elite to use my empowered life drain on. Drain life drain. You know what I mean, right? But it's a little bit more difficult to use here because of the way that this boss happens to operate. It can get really sketch. All right, so I think I'm trying to pop my orb here, except my Voidwalker was still in combat somehow. And so I'm trying to use it. Here we go. So I get that out, and I just run over, grab that guy, pull him over, and then I just start unloading. So there goes the big life drain. Lots of damage. He's already down to like 10%. So he's getting trucked. Absolutely. And down he goes, along with just about all the other ads. So now it's not exactly smooth sailing, but you don't really want to let your guard down too much. But we've pretty much gone over the hump. We're at a much more comfortable pace. And as usual, we can start building up some more stacks of Drain Life. Save it for an opportune time. Heck, given how this guy has more life than normal, this really is a good time to use it too. Because those guys can definitely put on the pain. And now we go through the usual wind around, going through here, dotting these guys up, building some more stacks. I use a Reaping Flame on the little slimes here to keep up the buff. And don't get disoriented, of course. All right, so he goes down without too much trouble, and Infinite Stars also help me out there. And now I'm just walking it, just kind of cruising it at this point. I'm really starting to feel the confidence level going up on the Warlock, at least with this sort of approach. I'm still not quite sure just how it was that I was doing such a bad job before, but at this point, I've definitely gotten used to it. I'm having so much of a better handle of how to time these abilities, or otherwise keep track of buffs and debuffs without the overuse of things like weak auras and other such things. So I'm trying to take this guy down a little bit faster. He's being a little bit stubborn, but we're still doing okay. We're at about half sanity. That thing's dead. I'll dot these guys up, maintain the stacks. And so I just want to make sure that for this next elite, I just want to be sure that when I do use my drain life, there isn't going to be a rain of fire that goes out at the same time. So I kick it off with this like pretty much right away, because I know that he's going to use at least one, maybe two shadow bolts before he throws down the rain of fire. You can see he's down to about 10% again and gone. That's it. I use Reaping Flames to clean these guys out, and just wait to get out of combat, and then off we go to Umbric. So as a Warlock, I opted to not, as an inexperienced Warlock, I should say, I thought of trying to use a Demonic Gateway to see if I can somehow cheese his mechanics of how Umbric tends to go behind that little ice wall smoke bomb like thing. In this case, I didn't. So I was just like, okay, you know what? My pet's probably going to do a decent enough job of doing it. So I just kind of let my pet run in and do this job for me. So I don't really have any interrupts to work with here. It's just a matter of throw down as many of my dots as I can and hope that the damage will push through thresholds or stop him from casting or something like that. So I don't have anything available. I have no Drain Life. I have no Reaping Flames. I mean, I could still use it for the sake of getting some extra damage out. So I did use it right there above the 80% threshold, so I can have it available again a little bit into the fight. There goes my Voidwalker. Of course, I have to walk it the long way around. But the Voidwalker gets this guy's channel to stop. I'm just taking the sanity damage, but it's not really that much at all. It's not so bad. If anything, as long as I'm killing this guy a little bit faster, then we're in a pretty good spot. So as you can see, I used my Dark Glare over there so I can get some extra damage out as as he's going there to the other side. Voidwalker finally gets there to get him out of the cast, and shortly after he just drops. So we're at full sanity. I have no orbs left, but I do have my extra life. So I pretty much have a bar and a half to work with. I'm running an Affliction, I have pets, I pretty much have all the advantages, and I'm using Infinite Stars as well. So this is going to, I believe this did a pretty good job during this fight. Actually, no, I take that back. It did not do a great job during this fight. It just wasn't going off very much. I guess it goes off more on the application of dots rather than just the dot ticks themselves. But anyway, I go in, let the Voidwalker pull stuff, and I go to town, let the unstable afflictions fly, use Reaping Flames, get everything in, and I'm starting to build up my stacks of Drain Life. Something that I could have done too, I could have built up Drain Life stacks outside of this room, especially because I didn't have any orbs left. So that's another strategy that you can do. That way you can kick it off straight away with a really powerful Drain Life, and then kind of repeat the process that I'm doing here. Just go ahead and keep the dots rolling. Make sure that they're still, make sure that they stay applied. But I'm still pretty bad at this. I know that I'm refreshing my agony like really early. There are other things that I could have done. I could have used Drain Soul a lot more. But I want it to be mobile too, and just let the dots run. So in this case, the way that I played my Warlock, I just played it in a way that I wanted to outlast all of my opponents. So having a lot of health restoration between Goulash and my other defensive abilities, this worked out. This worked out really, really well. So I'm just kind of keeping up those dots. I'm waiting until she's at kind of low health because I'm just waiting for a chance to use my Drain Life, and it was right here. I'm just using it in the eyeball. Who cares? Not a big deal. That 20% goes down to about 4% in just a few seconds and dropped. So this felt good. I felt really good after this fight. Like I said, I was really worried because of my previous performance, but this time around, it was a total turnaround. I am not ashamed of doing my own commentary this time. So I got the final truth that'll get me my rank 12, which is going to get me that really powerful primary stat proc. Clearly, though, didn't need it in this case. Some decent play is what got me through. So I skipped ahead a little bit so I can open this thing up. I got pants. All right, I got pants. What kind of pants did I get though? They are pants that give me extra crit strike. Great. 35 corruption. Not so proud of that one. But that's it, guys. That's going to be it for the Warlock. He is ready to be put onto the shelf, and that is one more class that has knocked out both Orgrimmar and Stormwind 5 chest runs. So I hope this run was helpful. I hope that the information in here will help you get through, or otherwise this was a little bit entertaining. But yeah, stay tuned for the next run that I do. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.